Hey, what's up? David here with After Video Effects, and welcome back to another video tutorial. And today we're going to create the Marvel title sequence. So yeah, let's take a look at what we're going to be creating. Alright, so before we get into the tutorial, I just want to thank Holly from New Life for the video suggestion. So Holly, if you're watching this, hi, and I'll see you this Sunday. And also, I want to thank Film Learning for the stock footage. I'll leave a link in the description below for where you can download all of these assets. Right, let's get into the tutorial. So we're going to make a new comp, 1920 by 1080, and we'll call this comic books. Very important you label, because we're going to be making a lot of comps today. I'm just going to drag this into my tutorial, so I just know where it is. Right, so I've got all of these comic book assets. Now just grab one, hit shift, and just click and drag into this clump, and you can see here it's very not proportional. Sorry guys, I'm just like, it's so hot, like no joke, it's like 30-40 degrees and it's just driving me insane. Okay, so hit S, scale it pretty big, make sure it fills the whole comp. If we hit Control A, that will select all of them. Hit the arrow key just to get rid of all of those. Okay, and then hit P for each one, and hit the stopwatch, and we're just gonna move this. So if I just hit Control I, sorry, just the plus sign, and I'm just gonna move this 4 frames, so about there, and I'm just gonna move this up. So hit Shift as well, and just move it all the way right to the top. Right, once you've done that, if we hit page down, you can see here now the comic books will just come down by itself after 4 frames. Alright, so we're gonna select just the last keyframe for all of them, so just and hit F9 just to smooth it out. Okay. Alright, so we're gonna have to offset this by a couple frames, but we're not gonna do it by one because that's just gonna take forever. So instead, we're gonna use a script. So if I just hit this, deselect this first, and if I just hit this, the second last image, and then just hold shift and to the top layer, and if I just go file, script, run script, and we can see here there's a sequencer script. So I'll leave a link for where you can download this. So just hit use this script, and it's asking us how many frames we want to offset it by. So since we used 4 frames, so we want to leave about 2 to 3 frames still, so maybe about 7 is a good value, and then hit OK. And now if we look at this, ta-da, it is offsetted each layer by 7 frames. If we just slide, we can just slide this one across as well. There we go. So yeah, next thing we have to do is just go through each image and then just scale it up. So yeah, we have to hit this one, scale it up even more, and this is just a very long, boring process of it, and it takes a very long time. So it's not hard, it's just takes a bit of time. So I'm just gonna skip this process because it's kind of annoying, but you just do this for every single frame. So Yeah, see, you can see there's a lot of pages that's like not the same, not covering up the whole comp. So yeah, just do that for the rest of the comp. Right, once you've done that, we can now start adding some color correction. So we're gonna make a new adjustment layer. So layer, new adjustment layer, and we'll call this red. So, and if we just go color correction tint and color correction tint again, and change the white of this to red. And if we can add glow, so we go stylize glow, and we'll just drop this. Yeah, so that's done. So if we can just scrub through in time, maybe about 2 seconds, hit T, hit the stopwatch, maybe 15 frames, just hit 0 for the opacity, and hit F9. And we'll just make this, hit Alt and then begin bracket, and now just cut it. And next thing we have to do is duplicate it, and we'll just offset this, extend this, hit T, and just get rid of these keyframes. Right, and then we're going to change this one to more of an orange color for this top layer. So we'll call this orange, and we want to make it about 50%, not 100. Okay, and then we're going to delete this tint, and then we're just left with one tint and the glow. So for the red layer, I just extended the keyframes. So instead of the opacity starting from here, I just extended from here, and then just offset the orange layer maybe about halfway through. That way it transitions to the next color really. Right, and that's basically it for the comic books. Once you've done that, select all the layers and turn on motion blur. So I've already done that. So just hit Control A and then hit this icon, hit this motion blur button. There you go. And then now we've got some motion blur. So that's basically the trick for the comic books. Alright, there's one more background that we have to create, and it's just this little red fractal noise background. So to create this, we're just going to make a new comp. So Control N, and it's 4000 by 4000. We'll call this fractal noise, and let's go and create a new solid, make it black, we'll call this fractal noise, and we're gonna go noise, fractal noise, and let's change this to dynamic progressive, and maybe transform, turn it up to maybe 173, and maybe we could turn up the complexity maybe to 8. Okay, so and then add a radial fast blur and make it brightest, crank that up to maybe 90, and just drag this point down here. Next we have to add a curves adjustment, and maybe just drop this down and bump up that red channel, something like this, and then we can add a glow. So go to stylize glow, and we're going to drop that down and then just spread this out, maybe like 0.1. Just want to make it subtle. Okay, so that's our noise background. Right, next thing we have to do is our other background. So I've got this helicarrier image that I got from Google Images. Just type in helicarrier and then it'll just pop up, so don't worry. Drag into a new comp, and I'm just going to move this one into my tutorial. Right, so first we need to add a tint effect, so tint, and drop that down to 25%. Maybe make it a little bit of a bluish color. There we go, and then we need to add a glow, so stylize glow, and drop that down to maybe 0.5, and just crank that up to maybe about 300. Okay, and then one final touch, add a camera lens blur, and drop that down to maybe 2.5. Right, so that is the setup for our other background. So now we can move on to the characters. All these characters, so Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, you know, all the Marvel, oh my god. So I'm just going to drag this Iron Man image into a brand new comp, and I'm just gonna push this up in the tutorial. Right, so first we need to scale this down a little bit, maybe about 70%, and then I've got these paint transitions. Okay, so drag number 1 out. It's very high res, but it's 4K, so just be aware of that. You may have to like put into a new comp like I did, and then just turn down the resolution, which is this thing here. I'm just gonna scale it up until it fills the whole screen, and if I just scrub through, you can see here that it's like this paint strokes. And what we're gonna do is set the track matte to alpha matte, and then this is what it looks like. So you can see here, I'm using the alpha. Well, it's kind of hard to explain when I'm basically using the white to only be show the Iron Man image, and then the black just disappears as an alpha. If you guys understand that logic, I don't know. If you guys, I'll put a definition in the description below. So yeah, that's basically the setup. And one more touch is that we gotta put paint stroke. So we've got this paint image underneath, and scale it up, maybe move it around, rotate this maybe like that, and then we're gonna go color correction tint, and we'll use the video copilot vibrance. I'll make this red. Right, and duplicate this, Control D, put it between the Iron Man and the paint, and then set the track matte to alpha. And then you can offset the time a little bit, maybe a couple frames. Yep, so that's basically the character setup for each character. So do this for every single character. But for the Hulk and Iron Man, I suggest you only do this paint, and then everyone else like Black Widow, Black Panther, Star-Lord, I suggest you just only do this just the character itself, no paint transition, because when I saw the clip, it only showed Hulk and Iron Man have an actual background. So yeah, just do that. Alright, so that's the character setup. So once you have all your characters set up, now we can start compositing as one comp. Alright, so let's take a look at the final composite. So I've got a camera here, and it's basically a custom camera. I didn't actually add a focal length to it. So yeah, so let's start with the comic book. So it's scaled up pretty big, 265, the opacity 100 until this point, which drops down to 0%. So if we look at the top view, actually, we can see here, this is our camera and that's the comic book. And as we scrub through in the timeline, it zooms out on the Z space, which is the blue arrow, and it rotates simultaneously as well. So if we look at the rotation, I actually set it to 20 degrees, and then from this point, I just let it go back to 0. You just do that for like the rest, just do that for like a couple seconds, and then once it reaches like at a point where you want it to just zoom out and show the characters, yeah, so the first thing I did was added this text said by Fury in the first Avengers movie. Yeah, it's placed in 3D space, so if we look at that again, it's right there. That one, which is all the way down here. Yeah, so the style of the text was Korea, and that's the actual text for actual scripts in movies. So if you guys were curious about that, then there you go. We scrub through in time. The Iron Man starts to reveal. I added a mask to the Iron Man just to give it like a soft edge around the border instead of this like harsh edge here. And then for the background, it's still playing the comic books. So once it reaches at a stage where Hulk comes in, which is about there, then I start to reveal more of the text, such as Stark's Iron Man text here, which is I am Iron Man, and Banner, that's my secret, I'm always angry. Those two were in the Marvel movies. Yep, so scrub through even more. Hulk is starting to be revealed. If we look at the top view, there's Hulk and there's our camera. Yeah, and the background, so the fractal noise background is starting to transition for the opacity as soon as Iron Man is revealed. And then I set it to 70% because I still wanted to show a little bit of that comic book flip, and then I set the transfer mode to screen. So yeah, and then the text is actually quite large and it's in front of Hulk. I let the paint transition come on just for like a couple of frames, and then once it starts to zoom out, then we start to see the other characters come in. So we start to see Groot and Black Panther, and then as the characters come in, we also see the helicarrier background coming. So if I hit T, yeah, you can see the transition coming in. So the opacity, you can see Black Widow and Ant-Man come in, and some more text. I am Groot. I just placed them in 3D space. So if we look at the top view again, the top view is a very good reference for where you place your characters. So yeah, we can see this cluster here. We got Ant-Man here. We got Black Widow up there. Groot's here. Black Panther there. And the background. So it's actually in front of Hulk and Iron Man. We've got some more text placed in 3D space. Give it some blur and rotation, and it looked pretty good with the randomness happening. As we scrub through even more, we start to see Star-Lord come in, which is right there, and that's what's our camera showing. Scrub through even more. Thor, we can see Thor. Thor's actually larger than all the characters. So yeah, Thor comes in, and then Captain America comes in. Yep. Let's just look at the top view again, just to see what the, so there's Captain America and Thor. I gave it some saturation just to match the other characters as well. Now, if you saw the original clip, there was a flare behind Captain America, so I just placed that in between Captain America and Thor, and I just used optical flares. So if we hit U to show all the keyframes, I've got a keyframe for brightness and scale, and then as the flare reaches its peak, and then you can start showing the clip where Captain America throws his shield. I've got a scale keyframe. So that's pretty much it. Oh, and I got the sample beam as well. So that's basically it for the characters setup. So if I just go into this in the middle here, so I've added a fast blur to the edges, so it's like a vignette. Well, fast blur 30 pixels, repeat edge pixels. Then I added a vignette just to darken the edges, and then some color correction. Okay, and then I think I faded out quite a lot. Yeah, 650 pixels. Yeah, that's the Marvel title sequence done. Alright, there's one final touch that I want to show you guys, and it's this optics compensation. So basically I put the Marvel title into a new comp, and then I added this optics effect. So if you look at the difference, it's just giving that illusion that it's bending inwards, and I reversed it and set it to 40 and add motion blur, and that's the final touch. So for the rendering, I want to make sure that you render as GPU, not CPU. So if you don't know how to do it, go to preferences, previews, and then GPU information, and set from CPU to GPU. I've got a GeForce GT 720M. I've had this laptop since like 2013, so yeah, 4 gigs of RAM. People reserved the majority of the RAM for these softwares, and then 0.8 gigs of RAM for the rest, like Google Chrome, Windows Explorer, etc. And that's it. So guys, that is part 1 for Marvel title sequence. So part 2 will be coming out in a fortnight. Once again, thank you Holly for the video suggestion. Thank you Film Learning for the stock footage. So guys, my name's David. I hope you learned interesting techniques that you can use for your own creations. So please give a like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. Yeah, until next time, I will see you in the next video.